Step beyond tradition. With a drop of magic. Clash in epic battles where magic reshapes strategy. Unleash spells to transform the game. Attack! Defend! Trick! Master them all. Ready to duel in the realm of magic?
All right. Good morning, good evening, and good day to everybody. Today is a very special day as this is a ChessBase India and Anichess tournament. This is Spells Rush. We're your hosts. My name is John F. Dong, and today co-hosting with me is Woman Candidate Master Miss Hannah Says, and we're super excited to have you here, guys, with this tournament today.
Yeah, this is going to be so fun. I mean, Spells Rush is not your regular tournament. It's just going to be a whole lot of chaos as well as chess. We've got strategy, and there's also going to be some spell casting, and there's also really, really good players that are all going to put on a great show for us tonight.
Yeah, actually, if you're new here, don't worry. We'll guide you through everything from these spells and how it was played. And if you've been following this scene, you already know today's matches are going to be intense. So expect clutch moments, bold moves, and probably some few twists, which no one sees coming. So, yep.
Yeah, before we start, let's give a big shout out to Anichess as well as ChessBase India and Team Secret for putting this all together. It's just so cool to see traditional chess also blended with these new ideas of spells and gameplay like this. So cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And hope you guys have taken your dinner, your breakfast, your food. And if you haven't, grab your snacks, get comfy, and let's enjoy this ride together. You've got some spells, strategy, and a whole lot of action coming your way. And without further ado, I guess let's jump in and see who comes out on the top.
Today we have a really big tournament coming up because we're going to go from 64 players that have qualified through this massive tournament. There was almost 1,000 players that played in this. We're down to our final 64, and then we're going to get down to just 8 players by the end of tonight. So it's really going to narrow down. Then the finals are going to be tomorrow, but this is just going to be really, really intense. There's also a $3,000 prize fund as well, hosted by ChessBase India. Super exciting night ahead.
Yeah, actually, there's new spells that has been added, and hope you guys are ready for this. I mean, I have seen familiar names in the total bracket right now, and hopefully we can get to see more new players coming in this tournament. Maybe some new names and new metas, because before there was a lot of metas that has already been used, and I'm super excited to see who will be on the top of this tournament.
John, do you have any favorites? Do you think there's anyone you think is going to win this for sure?
Maybe not favorites, but I have some, expectations here. I guess Sportgas has also joined this tournament. I've seen some familiar names, and probably they have heard about this tournament for quite a long while ago. That's why they're preparing for this, and some of these players actually practiced a lot. I have competed against them way back in normal chess, and right now here in Anichess as well. I have managed to defeat them, and sometimes they also defeat me because of those spells.
Okay.
New spells that come in here. Yep.
Yeah. And speaking of the spells, so in this tournament tonight, each matchup is going to be only one game. It's a best of one. And then the finals tomorrow night is a best of 3. So you only get to choose one spell combo for this tonight. So what would be your 3 spells that you choose?
Well, for me, it's still the Parker Mech, House Recruit, and Queen Time. What about you?
Okay, so I go for something kind of similar, but I don't really love the parkour mech. I go for Queen Time, and I go for Pounce and Purr and House Recruit. But there's a new spell in, which is Transcendence, and this one's really, really cool. It's like the pieces can go all the way around the other side of the board, and it's like super trippy to try and work out.
Yeah, actually, this new spell Transcendence, I think it's the new meta, but let's see if they will be using this spell for this tournament.
Yeah, I know. I think we're going to see a lot of Transcendence tonight. I mean, a lot of the top players have been using this spell. It's going to be really cool to see, what the top players like to choose as well, whether they'll choose the same combos that we like or something completely different. But yeah, these spells are crazy, guys. They just totally changed the game. And so I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I agree with you. Super excited with new metas probably, and the combination of these different spells with different utilities. So pretty excited for these players to win in this tournament.
Yeah, so I think we're going to zone in on a couple of matches for each of so we're going to start off with the top 64, narrowing that down to 32, and we're going to tune into this game between Gray and Clyu. Let's see what's going on here.
Yep. So Gray has Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence, while Clyu has Parker Mech, House Recruit, and Transcendence.
Yes, so we've got both sides using this new Transcendence spell, which is the one we talked about. Crazy one, pieces can go all the way around the board. And then bit of a different choice where one side is using the Slip spell. This one is a little less powerful, but you can use it a lot of times, so it can be quite useful early on in the game for sure.
Yeah, and actually it also steals 1 mana to your opponent's mana. So if ever your opponent is about to do a spell, you can just delay it for 1 turn because you just stole 1 mana from his mana.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's not familiar with mana and you're like, what? Chess? When did chess get mana in it? So mana is basically what you use to cast your spells. Every single turn you get 1 more mana and you can save it up to use these spells. So the powerful ones, they cost a bit more.
Exactly, because if it's a powerful spell, definitely it's gonna take some mana, some turns for you to have that ability to cast that spell. And also, it doesn't mean that it requires a lot of spell. It's way more powerful. Sometimes, like Slip spell, it can be powerful during endgames, right?
Yeah, for sure, to use it to just get those pawns maybe a square further than they would be already. There hasn't been too much spell use so far, though, I've noticed. So Clyu still has all of his casts left. So no spell use from Clyu, whereas Gray's used a couple of his Slip spells. So maybe he's just saving them up for the right point.
Yeah, and as you can see, the playstyle here, they're trying to have a close game. Transcendence spell is a little bit tricky. That's why they have to really protect that king, as Transcendence can do some kingslay if they're not really careful enough.
Oh yeah, that's just crazy. This Transcendence spell, guys, you can take the king with this one, which is just insane. So you have to be so careful that you're not going to lose your king. That could be a really sad way to lose the game.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe let's try to talk about the spells from Clyu. So he has Parker Mech and House Recruit. Actually, these are the 2 meta spells way back a few builds ago, and still probably is the best spells if you're trying to play Anichess right now. So Parker Mech transforms your piece into a knight, while House Recruit, you can create a pawn on an empty square from 3rd to 6th ranks. And having that with Transcendence, I guess it creates a lot of pressure to the opponent. And yeah, I guess Gray has already learned about this already.
Yes, it's like that. It's good to use these 2 together, because House Recruit you can make a pawn, and then Parkour Mech you can make a pawn into a knight. So you can just like place a pawn somewhere and then you're going to make that straight into a knight. So this one's like really useful to use those 2 together.
totally agree with you on that. Most of the time, I put these house recruit on the 6th rank, and then if my
From
opponent
humble
doesn't notice that,
ground,
oh, I
your
have this pawn
pawn
right
is
here,
crowned.
I'll just convert it into a knight through part room expel.
Yeah, it's always nice. I like how Black has made this pawn use their house recruit spell to make a pawn on the f4 square. That seems really, really nice, just clamping down on White's position there. Now you're just struggling as White to find a little bit of space.
Yeah, I think that house recruit on f4 is trying to stop the g5 pawn
Ooh, you're cutting
slipping
out there
through
for me,
h6.
John. Yep.
Yep. Oh, by the way, we have completed the round of 64, and probably we'll have some quick break later on. But for this, we can see that the match is really intense. There are plans for slipping that pawn again, and they cannot really don't give this idea like put into the trash if they're not really careful enough though. So having this a4 pawn,
Steps into the
see,
fray.
there's the h6.
Black is up a piece now, but yeah, h6, that looks like a really useful move. How are you going to get any of your pieces to stop that pawn? But now Transcendence is used, the queen transports to the other side of the board. Super, super useful spell, and you can never forget about that one.
Yes, why that transcend spell happened, let me just quickly explain. So yeah, just like what you mentioned a while ago, imagine it's a cylinder chessboard. So that queen from d8 to c7, d6, a5 transcended into h4. So that's how it happened. Just to answer, maybe there are people who are actually thinking, why the hell that queen from d8 go to h4? What are you trying to talk about? Something like that.
Yeah, no. I think that Transcendence is definitely the most mind-bending of all the spells because it really, it takes you away from reality and how pieces would normally move on a chessboard. So this one's pretty wild, but super, super cool. And you also get 3 casts of it, so you can just move your piece all the way around the board 3 times. But now Clyde is a little low on mana. Let's see if Gray can use that to try and make an attack.
Yeah, Gray has 5 out of 8 mana, and the way we see it, Clyde is trying to eliminate all that pawns from 5th to 6th rank, as it will be very powerful. And I guess Gray can now promote with a slip spell. But let's not forget, there's a Transcendence here on Clyde's spells list.
Yeah, so that pawn on h7, am I right in saying that pawn on h7 is actually attacking the rook on a8 right now? Because you could use Transcendence to move around to the other side and capture it.
Actually,
is that true?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really sneaky. I think
h7.
in a game I might not notice that.
That's why Anichess, it's like you're making it more complicated in a magical way. And that h7 threatens the a8 rook. Yep, and if Clyde is not careful enough, then he lost another high-ranking official.
Yeah, and this one, I think he's, struggling to maybe deal with right now. Using a lot of time right now, down to 1 minute and 50 seconds.
Oh no, Bishop g7.
Okay, will
I guess he
Gray
didn't
use
see that can be
Transcendence?
transcended. Let's see. Oh, I see what Gray is trying to do.
What is Gray trying to do? You tell me.
Actually, Gray just take the pawn on a4 because he wants to remove that rook on the 8th rank, as it can transcend later on if Gray tries to slip that h7 to g8, promoting to a queen. Then the rook can just simply transcend and capture that promoted piece.
Okay, for sure. I mean, I feel that time is also so important in this because you need time to cast the spells. So when you get down below a minute or something, it gets really tricky to find the time to not only decide on a move, but also cast a spell as well. So I always like to try and play as quickly as possible.
That's true. You really have to mind about your time too, because um, that's also one way of how you lose the game. If you lost all your time, then you'll be lost because of timeout. However, if you're not very careful with your king, it can be slain and you can be defeated through king slay. That's why you have to be very careful both time and in position.
Yes, for sure. Okay, who do you think is going to be the winner right now?
Based in this position, both of them having the same time. There's not so much difference in the time, but we can see that in this position, the black actually managed to prevent the plans for that h7 pawn to promote. However, that transcend from f1 to c6 was,
Oh, look at that.
I guess,
Oh my
that's
god.
mandatory.
Oh, this is just crazy.
Yeah, very,
I
very
really
crazy.
like White's attack here. This is like going crazy. I really like White's attack though. Even though White has less pieces right now, I like the fact that they're just going all in, bringing in the queen, bringing in the bishop, bringing in everything to attack. Very fun.
Yeah, the way I see this, Black got distracted because of that pawn, and the way he got distracted, he forgot that, he can also counterattack having the Parker mech haven't been used. So yeah, we can see that it hasn't been utilized at this time.
Yeah, and a lot of the time you might think, oh, I'm just going to use this spell later and I'll save it to a point where it's, more useful. But then if you're already getting checkmated, well, not checkmated in this game, you're getting your king slay, then you don't get the time to use the spell. Okay, now he creates a knight on e7 though.
Yeah,
Using
actually,
that
as you
parkour
talk
mech.
about time, Clydesu has less than 20 seconds. So this means that is both having difficulty on board and on his time. And that position, I don't know if it's going anywhere,
Oh.
but Queen A8 check is a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, there was
there
really
we go.
nothing you could do there. Nothing could block. It was just going to be a check. Yeah.
All right, that was a great match.
That was a crazy one. Yeah,
Totally
no,
agree
that
with
was
you.
super wild.
So, what's your thought?
Yeah.
What's
What's my thoughts? I mean, that was just
what's your-
about the. Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
sorry. What's your thoughts about the spells that Gray used in this match?
Oh, that was a really nice use of spells there. I really actually liked it. I think that I need to start getting more onto this Transcendence spell. I've been trying to stick with the spells I like, but Transcendence just seems so fun to play with. Like when his bishop went from f1 all the way to c6, that was just crazy. And that was a really nice checkmate in the end. Really nice use of spells.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. It's just sad that Clydesu hasn't utilized the Parker mech spell. If he could have used that in earlier stage, maybe the course of action has changed. But yep, maybe we'll go for a break, and guys, come back in 5 minutes for the round of 32. And we're back. Hope you guys are back too, because this match is going to be exciting. Do you agree, Hannah?
Oh, I absolutely agree. The last match was super fun to watch, and now we're going down to the final 16 in this round. So this is getting really, really down to the best of the best in Anichess.
Yes, and the next match will be Port Gas against Wes. So, yeah, just a few information about Port Gas. He's also a competitive player both in chess and in Anichess. And in fact, he was one of the tournament's champion way back a few Anichess tournaments ago. So let's see if his repertoire has changed, if his spells, has already changed as well.
Oh, okay. So Podgas is like reigning champion, basically. Won a bunch of tournaments. What about Wes? What do you know about Wes?
Uh, Maybe we can say that, but for Wes, I think this is my first time seeing this username Wes, or probably he's using a different name this time. But let's see, because if he managed to be in this spot, then probably he's a really great chess or Anichess player.
Yeah, the creativity at the higher levels of how they use the spells, it's just insane. I remember, like, in one of my first games, I was matched against an 1800 Annie chess, which is like, for you guys, they're like some of the best players in the world. And I just got absolutely crushed. The creativity they have is just so cool to watch. I'm so excited to see this match.
Yeah, same. Actually, there's just two legend ranking Anichess players right now, and hopefully after this tournament, we get to see more of them in the leaderboards this time.
And the legend ranking, that's 2000 plus, right?
Yeah, I guess that's around 2000, and it's very difficult this time because if you lose against a lower rating here in Anichess, of course your MMR or your rank will be demoted into the lower rank.
Right, yeah. So these like people who are 2000 plus, they are the best of the best, basically.
Yes, they are, and I'm actually replaying most of their games so that I can absorb how creative they are and how strategic and tactical they play here in Anichess.
Do you think after watching what some of these other players are using for their spells, do you think you're going to change it up? Try something new?
Not really change, but probably adapt because I still believe that the three spells, Parker Mech, House Recruit, and Queen Time, they're still part of the meta spells. However, with the addition of Transcendence, maybe we can really change the current metas right now. That's why I really have to check on the top 10's games so that I can really adapt to what they do in Anichess.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think after this one, I'm definitely going to try out Transcendence and also maybe try out some more as well. I think it's inspired me to branch out of my usual three spells and see if I can try the other ones. But yeah, it's always great to learn and to watch from the best. Same as in regular chess as well. It's like, when you're playing normal chess and you go to watch Magnus Carlsen or you go to watch Gukesh or Ding Liren or whoever. In Anichess, we're watching like these guys over here and just seeing exactly what they do rather than studying openings. We're studying spells.
Actually, that's the beauty of playing Anichess. If in regular chess, it seems very impossible to defeat super grandmasters or players who really manage to play this basic chess or traditional chess in a very well mannered. Here in NHS, you have the chance to upset a super grandmaster because of the spells. So let's say if they're not very familiar with these new spells like Transcendence, then definitely you have the advantage to, upset them.
Yeah, for sure. Who's the strongest player you've gotten to beat? Or have you not gotten the chance yet, John?
Way back when I joined the tournament, I guess it was Portgas. It was really Portgas that time because he was the first national player to get. I don't know if he was really the first, but he's one of the first Filipino active chess player who got into Anichess, and I wasn't aware that he was playing Anichess that time. So when I competed against him, he was using imposter, bishop. Is that bishop? Yeah, bishop and house recruit. So it was very difficult to defeat him because if you're not really careful with that imposter spell, he can swap your pieces without any notice since he has
Oh, that
that
one's such a
mana.
sneaky spell. Yeah, that one, the imposter
Yeah.
spell, I really want to see if anybody's going to use that one tonight. That one's just such a
Mm,
tricky spell, guys. You can swap one of your pieces with one of your opponent's one. Has to be the same type though. So like if you want to swap your queen with
mm.
their queen, you can do it and like maybe put them in a checkmate. It's super crazy, this one.
Yeah, just exclusion of kings and the pawns. So you cannot swap your king or your pawns, but you have to take note that you can really swap those other pieces. And let's say, for example, your opponent has an imposter too. You can just swap out again, so that you just have to return the favor. Or you use the imposter, I use imposter
Yeah.
just to return it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
Yeah, that's
thing
the
is
beauty
like
of it.
I really liked the imposter spell, but then when I found that I'd play against somebody who also has this spell and they just swap the pieces back, I was like, this is no fun anymore. So yeah, I guess if you get lucky and your opponent doesn't have it, then it can be a really powerful spell. But if your opponent has it, then you're just swapping back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, I guess that's the beauty of having these new spells like the pounds and per. So let's say he swapped your pieces, and then you have this pounds and per. You can just hop a piece beside it, and it will be stunned for one move, right?
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites, the pounce and purr spell. I really love using this one because it's so tricky that you can do it like with the pawns. You can go to the side, you can go backwards even with the pawns, which is so trippy. And then you can just freeze a nearby piece for a move, which is so fun.
Yeah, and we talked a while ago about the spells that can also be used to save your stunned piece. And I guess my favorite would be what you call this one, the Bishop 2.0. Yeah, if that's going to be the
Yeah.
Bishop, I'll be using Bishop 2.0. But I guess that's the what you call this one, the Penguin.
Pengu dive, yeah, that one's really an
Yeah, the
annoying
Penguin
one
dive.
actually because it totally makes the pounce. Pengu dive is another one where you can just grab a piece basically and just put it, you know, I think it has to be in like a 5 by 5 radius. You just put your piece wherever you want it to go. So then it's unfrozen somehow. So yeah, pounce and
Yeah,
purr doesn't work so well
totally
against
agree.
this one.
Actually, that Penguin dive is also annoying if you're playing against someone who has that spell and he knows how to use it correctly. So it just allows the piece to teleport. I mean, exclude with the exclusion of the pawns. You can't use Penguin dive on pawns, but it can teleport your piece to an empty square within, as you mentioned, 5 by 5 area around it, and it only costs like 3 mana, and you can use it for 5 times. So, yep, if you're looking
Okay,
for a
what
spell
about
that can be
shot in
used
the
a lot of time.
dark? What about shot in the dark? Have
Oh,
you used this
shut.
one?
Yeah, it's one of the spells that has been used in the first tournament, the first Philippine tournament, and yep, it cannot be used if you're doing a live stream. There should be like like a delay, like maybe 10 seconds delay, because for some visual reasons. But shot in the dark can be very tricky. It's just you cannot make your queen invisible, as queen is the most powerful piece in the chess. So you can only make an invisible piece for like a move, and then it is around 3 mana and capped at 3 casts.
Yeah, and this one's so tricky. The first time I played against this, it just confused me so much. So you can make your piece invisible and then you can just like put the piece anywhere. So like maybe you could put a piece right in front of your opponent's king and the opponent has to like try and work out, okay, is my king hanging right now or am I safe? And you have to like, balance the probability basically of whether your opponent has decided to just throw everything against the king. So that one's a tricky one for sure.
Yeah, actually, it can also be paired with Transcendence. let's say you have a rook and you opted to go to the first rank because his king can be, can be slayed by the use of transcendence. So I have encountered one of this Anichess player who has this combination of shot in the dark, the sleep, and transcendence. So he was able to slay my king because he used shot in the dark to put his rook on my first rank, and I wasn't really aware that he used transcendence after.
Oh, that's such a smart idea. That's a really cool way to combine the spells. I would never think of this.
Yeah, yeah, that's the beauty of knowing how spell works, and yes, that's one way of exploring how these combination of spells work in Anichess.
Yeah, I'm wondering if anyone in the chat, have you guys tried Anichess yet? If so, what are you guys thinking about it? Are you loving it? I'm wondering if there's some Anichess fanatics in the chat, or if we're all just like, what is this new crazy game that we're looking at right now?
Yeah, maybe we'll go to YouTube and see the comments right now, because most of them are probably not aware yet. But I've seen some comments here like, yeah, imposter can be countered in few ways. Maybe for you, what do you think is the best spell to counter imposter?
Ooh, okay. I have to think about this one. So can you use... I have sometimes used the pounce and purr against imposter. So like,
Mm-mm.
they'll put their rook somewhere where it's attacking me, but then I can just move upon, stun their rook, and then take it on the next move. So I've tried the imposter spell against it. Can you also use Pengu Dive, I'm wondering?
Yeah, I guess you can also use Pengu Dive since it's not stunned at all. But maybe we can hop on this game because I'm really excited to
Yes.
see. So again, this is Podcast against Wes.
Oh, wow, look at this board. I have to say, this is a beautiful looking board, by the way. I love this orange color. Very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Anichess. You can customize all your chess pieces, your chess boards, and everything here in Anichess. So we have Portgas with Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence. Oh, first impressions, he changed his spell list right now. Doesn't have any imposter. So for Wes, he has Slip, Parker Mech, and House Recruit.
All right, and we're seeing quite similar spell combinations to the last game, right? So this seems to be a lot of people are loving this combo with Slip, Parkour Mech, and House Recruit, as well as bringing in the Transcendent spell as well. So bit of a common theme here. Now, white is it looks like white is hung upon on e4. Is this a strategy, do you think, in the opening?
I think it is a strategy, and at the same time to get more mana for having this transcendence spell. As you can see, the queen on d1 is trying to transcend all the way to f7. That's the reason why he puts his knight on g5. And if black or West is really, paying attention to that, he can be king slayed in some few moves.
Oh, so that's such a cool idea. So the queen can go to a4, and then it's going to transcend all the way around the board to f7. That's super crazy, but black has defended that with bishop g6, it looks like, but that's a tricky move. And I did also, I started realizing this idea that you can just sort of sacrifice your pieces to try and get some more mana. I think this is also a really cool idea that's unique to Anichess, that you start sacrificing just to get a little more energy to cast your spells. This is really fun.
Yeah, that's one way of getting more mana. It's like sacrificing a piece, and maybe that piece can be resurrected through this one. Like, he sacrificed a 1 pawn simply because he has House Recruit. He can just cast a pawn from 36 rank and then gain back that lost pawn. And since he has Transcendence, he has to be very mindful of where do these pieces can transcend, like this one right now. And that Slip also steals 1 mana, and we have to be also very careful with this, since Parker Mech for West can also be very dangerous a little later if he managed to defend all these threats from the Transcendence spell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that, yeah, Portgas slipped their knight from g5 to f4. It's not usually you'll see a knight moving like this, only in Anichess. But that seems like a really nice square for the knight. And now he's going to push that pawn to a4. What do you think is the idea behind this, John?
I think the a4 move is trying to maybe preparing for the transcendent spell on h5, since he has knight on f4, queen on d1, and that pawn on a4 can transcend to h5. Maybe that's one of the plan, or maybe he will try to push that pawn all the way to a6 and transcend again to maybe h7 if the bishop tries to go back further to h7 square. Maybe those are the probable plans for white.
Right, I see. Okay, lots of ideas here for white. Black, I think, is just trying to play a bit defensively. I guess there was the idea to transcend the pawn from a4 to h5, but now knight f6 does defend that pawn, so I don't think we're going to see a transcendence anymore.
Clever diversion.
And,
Slipping
ooh,
into
that's a nice
position.
idea. Slip spell gets rid of that knight.
Yeah, actually, that slip spell it's also powerful as it really steals one mana from your opponent. But we also have to take note that Wes also has a slip spell and he has an extra knight
There we see it.
with Parker Mech.
Transcendence. Boom, that pawn from a4 is just transported to h5. What a cool idea. Okay,
Yeah.
and then there's going to be a lot more danger with that queen coming all the way around. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. That is probably inevitable for this, and that activation of rook to h5. I don't think this will do good for black, but we still have Parker Mech for black. He has 2 Parker Mech spells, and later on, if he survives this threats again, then he'll be on material advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, white can just take that knight on g4 though, so that's just been picked up. Now the rook is coming in, but it's a nice block. I really like the way that Podcast has been using the slip spell. He's used it twice now, but both in really nice ways to create an attack.
Yeah, exactly. And as you notice, black is trying to play very defensive up until now because the transcendence threats are still there. We have to take note that Portgas hasn't used transcendence yet. You still have house recruits and 3 slips, and
Welcome
having this
aboard,
slip,
fresh
having that
pawn.
H pawn as well without any block on the black side. Maybe later on that can be
Soldier
turned
steps into
into
the fray.
a queen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 pawns have just been created on the board, one on e4 and one on a6. And then we might see Portgas trying to
From
transcend
humble
that
ground,
pawn to
new
h7.
pawn is crowned.
Ooh, but okay, black's going aggressive now with the pawn on d3.
Yeah, the idea of having Parker Mech and House Recruit together, this just simply means that you can do this pawn formation and then later on turn that pawn into a powerful knight, depends on the situation. And right now, we can see that black is trying to be offensive, even though a while ago he was very defensive due to these threats from the Transcendence spell.
Okay, so are we going to see pawn to h7 right now, do you think? A transcendence spell? Or is he going to wait for that
I think
one?
it can only do transcend on h7 if there's something to capture there. However, since there's nothing that he can
Yeah.
capture, it cannot slip there. I mean, you cannot use two spells at a time. Maybe in the future
Yeah.
that can be possible, but for
White
now,
is a whisper.
Oh, but he slips
he
it back.
slipped
Okay.
from a6 to b5. Yeah, backwards. And this is
Mhm.
this is very dangerous, leaving the rook on e5.
Yeah. Now, how do you even defend this? How do you defend all your pieces here as black?
As black, I guess just make more distraction by g5. Maybe try to
Yeah, rook
remove that
f5.
queen. Looking at your
Oh.
rook f5 would also be great, but
Wait,
the
now
rook
that's
has
just
been
a free
hanging on
rook.
e5. Yeah, a free rook, actually. And I don't think Parker Mech can equalize the position, but a rook is a rook.
Yeah, this is looking pretty nice. I mean, being up a rook, you can never complain. But I guess the one thing that West definitely has going for them is that they can make two knights. Oh, and look at that. It's a fork.
Yeah, that fork is, something that probably Porteous hasn't anticipated in this position, and maybe he forgot that Parker Mech hasn't been used in this game yet. That's why that queen on e5, it has to go.
That was such a great move, making that knight on d3. Very nice. Okay, so now Porteous is down some material, I think. Well, down a queen.
Yeah, Porteous is now down a queen, but he still have the Transcendent spell, and then house recruit. So maybe he was just looking for an opportunity to make a house recruit on the 6th rank, and then later on turn that into a queen again and gain back his lost queen.
Yeah, great use of spells right now by West though. Also just adding an extra pawn down there on d3, forcing off some trades as well. And then also West can make one more knight as well. So West is going to have a lot more material. But Porteous can definitely go for some tricky stuff with 2 transcendent spells remaining.
Yeah, exactly. While West has a queen on d8, it may not seem very powerful right now, but again, material advantage can be very dangerous if it's being used on the proper way. And right now, West just have to be very careful, try to avoid all the possibilities of transcendence. And right now, transcendence has been used from rook h1 to rook a1, just maintaining that 7th rank hold.
No, this looks like a good use of that transcendent spell. Only one more remaining though. He'd probably want to save that for a really important moment. But West is super low on time, 13 seconds.
Yeah, I also didn't notice that West doesn't have any time left anymore. But this is something that he should, that fork again. There's 2 fork for this Parker Mech.
Oh. Yeah, no, there's forks everywhere. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, but he has to be very mindful of that time.
Yeah.
A diagonal.
Oh my gosh. Low 10 seconds. That's going to be really tricky to defend. Okay.
It is.
Queen is coming back.
Definitely is. And if he runs out of time, it'll be a victory for Porteous.
Quick as a flash.
Yeah, I was thinking about this slip to b7. This looks really interesting. Yeah, I was like, oh, this looks fun. Okay, now West has sacrificed the queen, and this is getting really close.
Build your ranks. Fill the blanks.
Yeah, what he could have done, maybe he can go queen d8 and slip his pawn backwards so that the pawn cannot actually promote. Maybe he missed that because of time pressure. But right now, maybe this is a chance for me. Maybe this is a chance. Oh!
No! Oh my gosh, I saw this as well. That g6, that was such a tricky move. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I told you.
You have to be frustrated.
Yeah, probably the transcendent spell. This transcendent spell is very tricky if you're not very mindful of what's gonna happen next. That's why it's good that you keep those bishops, those pair of bishops, and sometimes maybe you can just keep your queen and look for possibilities of transcending your pieces, and maybe convert that into a victory.
Yeah, I feel like the bishops and the queens have got to be the strongest pieces with the transcendent spell, just because they can go so far. The other pieces, they can kind of just, shuffle around, but bishops and queens, they're very, very sneaky with this one.
Yeah, we saw how a slip spell has been used for a very well-mannered way. And I think if West has a time, maybe the things have changed. Like he could have defended that position properly. Maybe he could have seen that bishop on c1 has a transcendence opportunity whenever the king is vulnerable. So, yep, time matters here in Anichess.
Yeah. That was a really tricky one, especially in low time. The transcendence spells are so sneaky. That's like why when I like to play against transcendence, I always want to keep pieces in the diagonals in front of my king, like just in case there is going to be like a flying bishop coming out of nowhere. But the prizes for this tournament are pretty big, right? We've got a $3,000 prize pool, and first place is getting $700. That's pretty nice. 700 US dollars.
Wow.
Second with
Yeah.
400, third 300, fourth gets 200, and then fifth to eighth they're getting 150, and ninth to 16th also take home $100. 17th to 32nd also grab some mate points. So I believe anyone who's still in the tournament right now are going home with something.
Yeah, that's actually nice. And take note, by just playing Anichess, you also get these M8 points. So whether you have participated this tournament or not, just go to Anichess, play some games, and you'll earn these M8 points. And of course, if there are tournaments, please participate so you get a chance to be featured, and at the same time, you get a chance for these cash prizes as well.
Yeah, this is really exciting. And now are we down to 16 players now? I think we are. 16 players left. So we're getting to the end of it. Or are we already at 8? I'm losing
I think
track.
we're still waiting for one match. Yeah, I think there's still one more match or two more matches. Yeah, for the meantime, I guess maybe we can talk about how genius those spells have been used by Portgas. So again, I was shocked that he wasn't using this imposter spell. However, I'm also surprised that these combination of spells are possible. Okay, and that's my first time seeing him use these spells.
Yeah, that was an insane comeback. That was really exciting to watch because it seemed like everything was going really badly for Portgas. I mean, he was down a queen when West got in, and he made a knight on d3, forking the king and the queen, and then made another knight, forking the bishop and the king. It was just looking really, really difficult. But then, just with that extra time, he was able to make a lot of tricks, like slipping that pawn all the way up to b7. And also that transcendence trick at the end. That was really fun. Oh, we have
Yeah, I
an
totally
analysis
agree
board
with you
up
on that.
here if we want to go through the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Maybe we can do it. Yeah, the boards have changed.
Okay, so yeah, this was a very creative opening. I liked how you talked about how he's just sacrificing the pieces to try and get some more time, more mana.
Mm-mm.
Then black comes in with the pawns on d3 and e4, and it starts to look really scary. Right about here is where it
Yeah,
starts to
actually.
look pretty scary.
Yeah, and it gets tactical. As you can see, there was this use of spells, the Parker mech, forking that king and queen, and Black managed to defend his position and get rid of those transcendence spells threats.
Yeah, and I totally just didn't even think of this fork to begin with, but making that knight on d3. I was just like, oh my gosh, he's just hung a rook on e5. That's a free rook. And then suddenly a knight appears there out of nowhere. So
Yeah, he has a plan.
You never really have a free rook in Anichess.
Yeah, for him that's a free rook, but to other player that's a free queen.
Yeah, absolutely. I really did think that West played a great game as well, but it was just the time management at the end. Looks like we're going into another game between Cameron
Yes.
and Theo.
Yeah, we have
actually
Theo and
played both
Primary
of these
here.
players before.
Oh, but guess what? They are both Filipinos. Yeah, they're both from the Philippines. Yes, and maybe let's
Okay.
quickly talk about the spells. So Theo have Parker Mech, House Recruit, and Queen Time. You know, it's the meta, same meta that he's using. I believe he's been using this for for most of his time playing Anichess. And Karamari uses Slip, House
Welcome
Recruit,
aboard,
and
fresh
Transcendence.
pawn.
Yeah, look at that. This is the first time that we're seeing queen time used so far. So queen time is a really fun spell. You can make any of your pieces, so your knights, bishops, or rooks, move like a queen for just one turn. And they can capture, they can't take the king, but you can go and like take the queen or something. This one's a really fun one, especially in low time, because I feel like people often miss and forget about the queen time spell when they get low in time.
Yeah, exactly. That adds up to the pressure, and at the same time, we have to keep in mind that the Queen Time spell can only be used once, and it takes like 7 mana, so it leaves you 1 mana if you use that spell. So make sure that you use it on the best possible way. We can see right now that Theo has only 1 mana because he used House Recruit to spawn on that e5 square, probably controlling the center to avoid any transcendence opportunity for black.
Yeah, and kind of the tricky setup with Transcendence is to Fianchetto both of your bishops, right? Because then they can come out on the other side and attack the diagonal towards the king or the queen. So this one, Theo is doing the right thing here and keeping those diagonals sort of blocked off and stopping the bishops from coming in.
Yeah, and we can also see that Karameru is trying to counter this offensive attack or offensive style from Theo, and that knight from h5 goes to f4, controlling the bishop. Actually, not trying to, not letting this bishop goes to wherever he wants or wherever he wished to go, but that leaves White in this position having more things to consider by not letting him do what he wants.
Okay, so here he decides to sacrifice the knight with some tactics in mind. Yeah, lots of pieces coming off the board right now.
Yeah, it's quite fast. They're trying to conserve time. Both of them have more than 3 minutes in this match. And I've known Theo, he really plays fast. And also Karameru, she's been playing a lot here in Anichess, so probably she masters everything. Oh, e6.
Oh, I like e6
I like
e6 here.
Yes, maybe he's trying to be tactical right now. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I think he's trying to go for, just I feel like in Anichess it's so valuable to get your opponent to have a weakened king. So playing moves like e6, even if they're giving up material, they're almost always good, especially when he has 2 spells that can create new material in the House Recruit and Parkour Mech. But also I think that Kamaru has some nice active bishops to play with, so this will be exciting to see.
Yes, and right now we can see that what Theo did with that e6 is trying to actually weaken all this pawn structure, and at the same time, since he's using the previous meta, or probably still the current meta for this Anichess, maybe what he's trying to do is he's trying to put some pressure in this game and making sure that all these bishops, they're not in the game anymore. And with the Parker mech, he can just convert that pawn on d4, turn it into a knight, and recapture that pawn on e6. So he can control the entirety of the game. That's the way I see it.
Yes, I do like this. Yeah, I do like what he's doing here. The only thing I'm a little scared about is how open his king is, especially when Kamaru has that transcendent spell. That king on g2, I don't know, it's a little vulnerable. Oh, I like this use of slip, improving the pawn structure here.
From humble ground,
Nice.
new pawn is crowned.
Yeah, actually, Theo can also put some House Recruit on g3, so he can quickly fix that king position with this pawn structure. However, we can see that Karameru casted that House Recruit on f6 just to defend the f7 pawn, and I think...
Yeah, and that rook on a8, I was going to say that rook on a8 is not hanging because Kamaru has the Transcendence spell. Like when pawn to f6 is played, you can't take that rook in the corner because Transcendence and the other rook comes around and takes your queen. So, yeah, tricks everywhere.
Yes, you're right about that. And again, if you have an opponent that has Transcendence, you're not really careful with that, definitely you could lose some high-ranking
From
piece
humble
in the
ground,
game.
a new pawn is crowned.
Yeah, for sure. And Kamino is making a lot of pawns here. Now, Theo does have enough mana for queen time now, though. So that knight on e4 could at some point go and grab the rook in the corner if he wants to use queen time on that. But sometimes you want to leave it to, capture the queen or something more important.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe Theo is trying to save it so that he can queen time the queen of his opponent. However, we can see that Kamino is trying to be aggressive with this pawn storming on the king side, and maybe she wants to take advantage of this king not having enough piece to defend himself. But there's still house recruit, like 2 house recruits for Theo. So I believe this game is kind of equal at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really scared about Theo's king, but he's also got some pieces out, whereas Kamino's pieces are, mostly on the back rank. They haven't really gotten out yet. So yeah, definitely
totally agree.
double-edged for sure. Yeah.
And we have slip for Kamino, so maybe these pawns can later be very dangerous of slip spell. So maybe later on she'll just pawn storm her G and H pawns. Then later on, if Theo is not very careful, it can transcend from king side to queen side. Maybe there are some plans like that.
Oh yeah, I really like the combo of slip and transcendence because you can get really sneaky with that one with all these pawns over here. And yeah, she's pushing those pawns. They're getting very close to the king, and I'm quite scared.
Build your ranks. Build the flanks.
Yeah, and also Theo is trying to counterattack that with that E6 house recruit. For now, I can see that he's trying to make things complicated and trying to get that king outside of his safe position. And there's some exchanges happening right now. I think Kamino to really use the transcendent spell at the right time.
Yeah, for sure. And I will notice that the 2 bishops for Kamino are now off the board. So I guess that gets rid of some of the tricky stuff with transcendence. But is that queen possibly going to do something sneaky over there on c8?
Yeah, we're looking forward for that queen to transcend into some squares here in the board. But for now, yeah, you're right with that. If you're playing against someone who has transcendence, you have to eliminate their bishops. It's like if they have bishop, then eliminate their bishops. So for this, if your opponent has a transcendence spell, the best way to counter it is to eliminate their bishops. So that's what Theo did.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, there is a lot of pawns. There are a lot of pawns near the king right now, though. This is looking quite crazy.
Yeah. Connected pawns on the king side, right? I guess Kamino is now trying to reactivate all the pieces, all these sleeping pieces on the queen side. And Theo is still trying to control the game. As you can see, he's still going towards the center of this Anichess board.
Yeah, and that was his final use of house recruit, so no more extra pawns for Theo. But now he's got the bishop and the queen lined up towards the king. Nice battery there.
Yeah, that battery can be a little tricky later on because what he's trying to do, maybe if he can't defeat him with the spells, let's try to defeat the opponent
Build your ranks.
the traditional
Build the
chess
flanks.
way or method. And right now, Theo still have 2 Parker mechs, which can be very dangerous for black, and we can also find difference here.
Yeah, for sure. Like you could make a knight on e6. That would already be a really active knight. Yeah, this could be a little bit scary.
Yes, or maybe he can convert that pawn on c4 into a knight and go to e5, targeting that g6 and making some threats on e7 as well by putting his knight on
Ooh.
c6. So either way, it can be very, very dangerous for Caramel
Embrace
having
the knight's
that
way.
time
Shift
as
the
well,
play.
less
Okay.
than 50 seconds. So yeah, they have to keep in
Oh,
mind
but they're
that.
both low on time now. They're both down under a minute. Theo makes a knight
diagonal
on
dash.
e6,
Quick as a
and
flash.
Kamino slips a pawn just maybe to just steal a mana, or get rid of that weak pawn on e7.
Yeah, here's the thing. The transcendence spell can only be used if there's like an opening or an open space or square on the other side or the other edge from left to right. But Theo managed to kind of eliminate that threat with this position. As you can see, the queen on c8 doesn't seem to be very useful with the transcendence spell. So Karameru is trying
Right.
to ease up the position right now. Wow.
So yeah,
See that?
oh, there we go.
Rules
Transcendence is used, but now queen time as well. Oh, there goes the queen. Oh my gosh, 2 spells back to back.
Yeah, actually. And I don't know if maybe because of the time pressure, but we can see that both of them are really trying their
A
best
clever diversion.
to win in
Slipping
this
into
position. That's backslip. That's very tricky
Oh.
too.
Okay, Kamino is
Oh,
going in
no.
and trying to promote that pawn.
A
He's trying to
diagonal
promote that
dash.
pawn on a1, I
Quick as a
think.
flash.
Ooh, look at this, a slip with a pin for the
Mm.
king. Now that's a fun move.
Yeah, that's the beauty of because it's not just for pawns; it's for every piece that you have. All right, so right now 15 seconds against 30 seconds. Okay, and Theo only have 1 Parker mech left, and then Karameru 1 slip and 2 transcendence. I don't know if that transcendence spell can be very useful in this situation, but still he has that threat.
Yeah, with the with no
Assist
bishops,
with a
the
knight's
transcendence becomes quite a lot less tricky. And now Theo makes his final knight, so he's just up 2 pieces over here in the endgame.
Yeah, but also there's still more 1 slip slip spell that can be used for Karameru. Maybe she's trying to save this one for later use. And let's also not forget that king can also transcend.
Transcend.
From
Yeah,
that H.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice to bring that king all the way over to the side. And then just maybe your opponent will not notice and accidentally hang a piece to your king, and it's just going to pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, actually, or maybe you can escape the king slay moment by transcending your king from H to A, right? So if you have the transcendence spell, definitely you can just escape those threats easily.
Oh, now Kamino has a pawn that is running down the board.
Oh!
Transcend? No! Oh!
I think that can be transcended. Oh, she missed that, but she
Oh
still
my
won.
gosh!
Yeah.
Yes! Okay.
Caramero
Oh my
wins.
gosh. That was crazy.
Yeah. The moment she put that rook on the second rank, I thought she was about to use the transcendent spell. However, maybe she missed one move, and Theo missed it too. That's why he was transcended, and the king was slayed. Sad for him.
Yeah, when you're so low on time, it's always so difficult to keep track of what spells can be used as well. Like a lot of the time you play something and you're like, oh no, I could have played this spell or something like that. So that was a really exciting game. I mean, I think the last 2 games that we've watched right now have had, big ups and downs. Like we've seen one player completely dominating and then suddenly loses all their pieces or something. So yeah, very unpredictable, right?
Yeah, and also maybe we can answer some comments here. Like, can king transcend? Yes, king can also transcend. Let's say if you're traveling from the other side of the board from H to A, you can definitely do that. However, that will take one of your casting for that transcendence spell. So you have to be very mindful of that.
Yeah, so they were asking if it can go. Somebody was also asking whether you can like transcend your king like all the way up. So transcendence is only left and right. You can't go like up and then pop out on the bottom of the board, basically. Unless you've got like a bishop, then, you know, they go a little more crazy, but you can only go in a left or right direction, basically.
Yeah, left to right only, not ups and downs. Just think of it like this, not like that.
Yeah, transcendence might be too strong if you could, like, you know, go up and around. Like, you could just take the king straight away or something.
Okay, maybe we can go for a quick break. What do you think? And let's prepare for the next matches, as it's going to be very intense, I guess.
Yes, all right. We will see you guys in about 10 minutes, and we're going to be back with the round of 16 players. See you guys soon.
step beyond tradition. With a drop of magic. Clash in epic battles, where magic reshapes strategy. Unleash spells to transform the game. Attack! Defend! Trick! Master them all. Ready to duel in the realm of magic?
And we're back again here in Anichess. By the way, this is ChessBase India X Anichess Spells Rush. So how was it, Hannah?
Yeah, this has been so exciting so far. And just a reminder, we have 3,000 USD up for grabs in this tournament. This is a big prize pool. Lots of prizes. First place taking home 700 USD plus 1,000 mate points. Second with 400, third with 300, fourth with 200, fifth to eighth 150, and ninth to 16th 100. So loads and loads of prizes. Everybody who's playing right now is going to get, some of that cash. But some of the most strong players, we're going to see them play in this round, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah, and not to mention, maybe later on, we'll get to see how these legends play their games in Anichess. So, yeah, I'm so excited to see them. By the way, this is the current bracketing right now for this tournament. So, all the way from those number of players right now, we're only up for 16 players right now. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this next matches. And who do you think will be on the top right now? Do you have any biases or maybe some favorite players on your mind?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I have no idea who is going to win, and that's what makes it so much fun. But I think we're going to see two of the strongest players play pretty soon, aren't we? Kamino and there was one other, so two legend players.
Elijah.
Elijah,
Kamino
yes.
and Elijah. They're actually the current legends here in Anichess, and both of them have 2,000 plus LO rating, and it's very difficult at the moment to have that number of rating or your MMR, if that's what you call it, since again, if you lose in a match, that loss can actually remove some of your MMR or your LO rating, which is very difficult and which is very frustrating if if you're trying to get to up.
Yeah, I can imagine it. And if you're trying to get 2,000, you have to be winning like every single game. So these guys are like Anichess superstars. And we're going to see both of them play. So I feel like we're going to see a lot of crazy, crazy tactics, lots of cool spells. I think we're just going to be like blown away very, very soon. Let's go.
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
big rating mismatch. We have, 2,000 versus 1,200 here. But I assume that maybe the rating might be a little bit, misleading. Maybe they just haven't played a lot of games. Because if they've made it this far, paying has to be pretty.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
clever
Now let's talk
diversion.
about the spells they've been
Slipping
using
into
for this
position.
match. So Pang 7, Shot in the Dark, Bishop 2.0, and Transcendence. While on Elijah, which is one of the legends in the current leaderboards, is using Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence.
Yes, so this is the first time we're seeing, two of the spells that Pang is using. We haven't seen Shot in the Dark or Bishop yet. Shot in the Dark is the one that we talked about. Pretty tricky, makes your piece turn invisible for a move, and you can do whatever you want with it, basically. And then Bishop means that, the bishop can jump over a piece and capture the king sometimes. Those are both tricky ones, but I feel like the stronger players don't really use Bishop that much, do they?
Yeah, totally agree. As Transcendence maybe is the reason why they've stopped using the Bishop. But take note, if you compare it to the last versions of Anichess, Bishop can only be used twice, and I think this has been buffed right now. And seeing this position right now with Elijah having that, you know, pawn formation in the center, I think this is just preparing for the next few moves where he's going to be using House Recruit, and probably with the combination of Slip and Transcendence, he can convert this position into a winning position. But who knows? The rating can be deceiving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some things that cross over with Anichess and regular chess, and some things that don't at all. But one thing that is nice is having a lot of space. And Elijah has, you know, all those pawns in the center. Looks like he's got a lot of space to start off with. And I believe Peng just sacrificed a knight. So let's see what happens here with this imbalance. Ooh, okay.
So with that Transcendence spell, I don't think if he sees that knight on b8, but yeah, he used that Transcendence spell probably to make a diversion. Maybe he'll use that shot in the dark for one of his pieces, or maybe just preparation for some shot in the dark as well, or bishop with this bishop on c1. I don't know, but yeah, anything is possible right now. Both of them having these spells.
Right, so with the shot in the dark spell where you can like make a piece invisible, maybe it's a good idea to just sacrifice a bunch of pieces to open up the king. Then you can go for a lot of tricks, like, you know, just putting your queen right in front of the king, seeing if your opponent is brave enough to take it. So this could be a really interesting and creative way to play.
Yeah, and right now with that h5 having the Transcendence spell, if white is not, you know, careful enough, it can be transcended. Oh, he didn't see it.
This. Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, it's transcendent. It's
He lost
so
his
tricky.
queen.
Oh my gosh. There goes the queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that
And
Peng is in quite a bit of trouble here.
yeah, actually, he's in big trouble. Losing a queen in a game, that's very difficult, especially if you have these spells. And right now, only one bishop to use that bishop. You just have to get rid of the bishop, and bishop will not be very useful anymore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one bishop left and 3 bishop casts remaining. I feel like Peng can still play for a lot of tricks. Thankfully, Shot in the Dark is a spell that you can really use if you have almost no pieces left. You can start like even marching with the king all the way up the board to try for some tricks. So yeah, some spells that can be definitely used to make some tricks, but Elijah definitely has the advantage right now for sure.
Yeah, totally agree with the advantage side, as Elijah has some, you know, material advantage. I mean, majority of the advantages on Elijah right now, and he has a threat on c2. But you know, he needs to be careful as well with that shot in the dark, because if he's not very careful, that knight can, you know, shot in the dark his king, causing some king slay, and who knows what happens next in this match right now.
Right, so you could think about making your knight invisible right now and putting it on the d6 square, checking the king. But yeah, what you might even try and do is you make the knight invisible, and then you see if like one of the pieces is trying to capture the knight on d6, and then if you don't move it, maybe something is hanging on d6. You know, like some reverse psychology sort of stuff here.
Yeah, actually, that's one way of using shot in the dark. It's just you can make it invisible and assume that, you know, this piece will go there, or yeah, just like what he did. Oh, I will not be going into that square. I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Elijah maybe expected the knight to end up on the d6 square. That's why he maybe brought the bishop out to d6. Oh, but now this definitely counters the shot in the dark spell, because the king is under attack right now.
Yeah, the thing here is that in Anichess, even though you're under check, you can still castle. So if white opted to castle, that's possible. Just to let the viewers know, yes, you can do that, and that's possible here in Anichess. And there's no stalemates, by the way. So that knight on b7 attacks the queen on d8 and the bishop on d6. However, yeah, there's low on mana on Pang's side. That's why this is going to be very difficult for him to gain the advantage, or probably just to equal the game.
Yeah, that castling out of check, it definitely takes some getting used to. Check is like way less of a, like strong thing in Anichess compared to regular chess, because your opponent can just kind of castle away or run their king away, do whatever they want, and they don't really have to worry about the check.
Yeah, exactly. And getting back in this position and in the spells that Elijah has right now, I mean, you see, there's still House Recruit, 4 uses of Slips, and Transcendence spell that hasn't been used, and majority of the pieces are on the board right now.
I feel like I see the future right now.
Mhm.
I feel like I see the future, maybe. Okay, so I think that Pang
You're
is
seeing
trying
it.
to deflect the queen so that he can take on d6 with the knight. But what might happen if queen takes b1, won't Elijah just be able to transcend and take the king on the next move? Oh, okay, so he doesn't take the rook.
Yeah, both of them having the
why.
Transcendence spell. Maybe
Yes,
he's trying not
could've-
to do it.
Okay, interesting. I was really thinking like maybe you could just go and take that rook on b1, but honestly, I trust the 2000 elo player more than I trust myself.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Maybe he has better plans, or maybe accepting the sacrifice can lead to some complications. That's why he doesn't took that risk. So he didn't took the
Yeah.
bait, and here we are in this position still on the upper hand. He just needs to be very careful because both of them have this Transcendence spell, but the Bishop spell for Pang isn't quite very useful for the meantime with that bishop on c1. So who knows what happens next.
Yeah, that's the thing, is the bishop spell, it can be really fun for going for tricks, but when your opponent just like gets rid of your bishops, then it's not really a fun spell to have anymore. So I think the Pang is definitely, maybe wishing they chose another spell right now with that bishop just stuck on c1.
Yeah, maybe what Pang is trying to do is to reactivate, but look at the
Ooh.
Transcendence spell.
At that. Oh my
This
gosh, and
is-
that is... Okay, maybe you do shot in the dark right now, go king g2. Hope that your opponent doesn't, move the queen to d2.
Yeah, actually, shot in the dark, that king to g2 or h1 can be possible, but yep, Elijah has to respond with maybe e4 or bishop to g4, something like
here's
that,
the
or bishop to
h1.
h.
H1... Yeah, the only problem with h1 is that you're still going to be in check on the next move. Oh, and knight e1 is such a good move as well, because if the king had also gone to g2, you can't escape out f3. So this is a really good move, knight e1.
Exactly. There's no escape from this position. So, yep, I guess it's a clear win for Elijah in this
Yep, now you
match.
take the queen and hope they don't see the hanging king. But yeah, nice win by Elijah there. Really some class shown. And that Transcendence spell looks so strong when in the right hands. I mean, I definitely said I underestimated that spell, but when you see a good player really putting it to use, that is such a powerful spell right now. What do you think, John?
Yeah, actually, and knowing that Elijah has 2,000 plus elo here in Anichess, just like you, I trust him more than I do to trust myself. By the way, just for you guys have an idea, my elo here in Anichess is around 1600. So it's very difficult to get a lot of elo rating here, especially if you wanted to go to the same legend rank with Elijah and Kamino. But who knows? Maybe there's some hidden strategies right now. But speaking of strategy, what do you think is the best strategy that you have seen so far in this tournament, Hannah?
Oh gosh, okay. So I think that I really liked in the last game with Camara's like just pushing all the pawns down. I really liked how she was just going house recruit, slipping, like creating pawns and then just moving them all the way down the board. I love this attacking style. That was really cool to see. How about you?
Well, for me, I think it was Sportcast against Wes, because way back, if I'm not mistaken, there was a game between Wes and Sportcast before, and Sportcast was defeated. So it's like a comeback for this tournament, and we've seen how Sportcast used all these spells, knowing that he was used to using these imposter spell, and then all of a sudden he's now using a different spell. So yep, kudos
Right.
to him as well.
And speaking of comebacks, we are coming back tomorrow to stream the finals, which is going to be so exciting. We've got Anish Giri joining us. Oh my gosh, that's going to be so much fun. We've got a grandmaster here to join us. Certainly that's going to be fun. Anish has also been playing some Anichess as well. I've seen some reels, some shorts, so that'll be really, really exciting. You guys can see that tomorrow night. And that's going to be a big one with the finals.
Yes, so guys, if you want to see him playing in action or maybe just commentating on Anichess games, definitely you should be here. So that's going to be happening tomorrow, and you don't want to miss that. I will not miss that too. Okay, I'll be there. I really want to see him, how he thinks in Anichess, because having him in chess, he's a super grandmaster. But what about Anichess? Let's see if what spells or maybe what meta spells do he think would be the better choice for this current season right now.
Now, I have to ask, do you think that being a grandmaster is an advantage in Anichess, or do you think it makes it more difficult because they are already got a lot of ideas of how the game is going? What do you think?
Well, guys, I'll be answering on my personal thoughts right now because I'm not a grandmaster myself. So if I'm a grandmaster, let's say if I'm a grandmaster, for me it's going to be difficult because I have to keep in mind that if I play Anichess, I'll make sure that I won't be confused with the traditional chess, because sometimes if you tend to dig deeper and try to get better in depth in Anichess, you tend to forget that, oh, I cannot do this anymore because there's no spell in traditional chess. But you have the advantage because you know how chess works, right? You know the strategies, tactics, the theories, and everything in normal chess. So if you have that skill set, definitely you can get better in Anichess. However, if you play too much Anichess, maybe that can affect your traditional chess skill. What do you
Yeah, for
think?
sure.
What
I
about
guess
you?
you kind of, yeah. I think that being a better chess player must help you to be, better at these sort of variants. But I guess sort of for things like Anichess, you kind of have to unlearn some of the things that you do know about chess. Like you have to stop thinking about,
Mm,
checks, castling out of checks, like all these different new strategies where normal openings are just not really going to work because of all these crazy spells. So maybe in some part it might be harder to unlearn all of the things that you know as a grandmaster, maybe. But yeah, definitely being a good chess player must help you a lot.
yeah, totally agree with you on that unlearning stuff. Let's say, for example, if you try to do those traditional chess openings here in Anichess, well, sometimes it's good, but there are times that occasionally having that opening isn't really good at all because of those threats from the spells like Transcendence. If you try to go the F4 way, like for example, first move is F4, you try to barrage the king side in the center, and then you forgot, oh, there's a Transcendence spell, and now my king is vulnerable in the E1. So, yep, you gotta learn and unlearn for Anichess.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've definitely left my king hanging too many times in Anichess, also because they let you move even if you're in check. Like, sometimes your king is attacked and then you just forget about it and your king gets taken. But let's take a look at the last game.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so this is again against Pang and Elijah. So, by the way, Elijah is the one of the legends here in Anichess, and as you can see, the play style here, um, yeah, it's way more better than us. So there's a blunder, I guess. The use of that transcendence on c6, I don't think that's necessary, but maybe he didn't see that knight on b8. What do you think?
Yeah, I was trying to work out maybe that Pang was trying to just go really, really aggressive and just sacrifice everything to try and open up Black's king. But yeah, maybe the transcendence to the c6 square was not the best move, because not only did it blunder a piece, but it also lost the bishop. So then Pang was no longer able to use the bishop spell with one of his bishops for the rest of the game. So yeah, that must have been a pretty key moment in the game.
Yeah, and having that blunder move eliminates one of his bishop, and definitely he has a hard time finding a way for that bishop spell, and that blunder as well in the queen a4.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to notice the transcendence spell from h5 to a4.
Yeah, that transcendent spell was so sneaky. Elijah just pushes that pawn to h5, and then boom, it wraps around the board and takes the queen on a4. So I think that Pang definitely could have still played on if he just lost that bishop, but being down a queen too, that's not so fun to play.
Yeah, actually, so from this game further, like any moves here can actually still be, there's a chance, but losing your queen, that's going to be a very difficult game, and we can see it's very noticeable that he's having a hard time. So with that use of shot in the dark from c5 to b7, it's not gonna do any good because there's a on c2. So yeah, Elijah just checked him on c2, which he responded with a castle on the king side, and he was just waiting for the right moment to use that transcendent spell.
Yes. And that transcendence onto h2 was a really smart idea. I was wondering, when Pang played rook to b1, I was wondering why Elijah didn't play queen takes b1, going for attacks on the king. But now it seems like Elijah was just waiting for that point to get the queen in and then transcend over to h2, which was a very smart idea.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea as well with the H pawn moving forward. So he's trying to open up that H file and then later on make a threat from his queen from going to F8, transcending into H2. So maybe that's the general plan. However, with the blunder of leaving the queen in A4 and having that transcendent spell used for the h5 pawn going to a4, that actually made it very difficult for Pang to move on with this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing down a queen it's difficult. And I really loved at the end that knight e1 move. I think that was just like the cherry on top when, there was a sneaky little shot in the dark spell. Pang runs over to h1, but then knight e1 just, cuts off the king from getting out and also brings that queen, keeps the queen attacking on h2.
Yeah, and I believe this is game over for white. And yeah, let's read some comments here. So we have Troll. So he's asking, wait, pawns can transcendence and take queen. Somehow I missed that happening earlier. Yes, that's possible because again we're talking about the cylinder. So you're taking this piece from left to right edges of your board. So as you notice here, when Elijah did the h5, or possibly the original plan was just to open it, but since what Pang replied was he didn't move his queen from a4. So after h5, what he did is
taking on d5, right?
yeah, I believe he
took on the d5 pawn, and that left the So c takes d5, but Elijah has more than 4 mana, so he can actually use Transcendence spell to transcend that pawn from h5 to a4.
Yeah, and as
Yep.
you mentioned earlier, the pawns can only transcend when they're capturing a piece, because it's like a spell, it keeps the movement as it usually would be. And in regular chess, a pawn is not moving diagonally unless it is capturing something. So you need a piece to be capturable for you to be able to transcend diagonally for the pawns.
Exactly. And also, for those who were asking if king can transcend, yes, if your king is, let's say, in H file and you want to transcend all the way to A file, if that square is vacant and there's no any piece on that square that's the same piece of yours, then definitely you can transcend that. Let's say you want to escape a mating threat, then you can just transcend from H7 to A6, something like that. That's how you use the transcendence spell. So again, hopefully we answered the question from Troll Marauder asking if that pawn can transcend all the way from H file to A file.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky spell to, get a handle on. I think all the others are pretty self-explanatory, like, the bishop can hop over something, or, a piece can move like a queen. You get the hang of this, but this one is definitely confusing, especially because it's a new spell. But yeah, we're going into the next game, I think, now. This one's going to be an exciting one as well. Going to see some more strong players. Kamino, one of the highest rated players as well, with that 2001 ELO. Let's see what's going on against Cole.
Yep, so let's talk about the spells. So Cole is using Slip, House Recruit, and Transcendence, while Kamino uses House Recruit, Transcendence, and Queen Time. Okay, Queen Time again. What do you think about this hand? A combination of Transcendence and Queen Time. Do you think this is quite dangerous,
I really like this. I think this would be a really fun combo, using Transcendence followed by Queen Time, or even, I don't know, maybe the opposite way as well. I feel like this could be very, very sneaky. You get so much movement with the Transcendence, and also with the Queen Time, it's like you have a secret queen on the board at any point. But yeah, definitely seeing a lot of common themes here. Everybody's using Transcendence. It's got to be good. And Cole here with the Slip spell as well, trying to farm up some of that mana, I think. And yeah, let's see what happens here.
Yep, and both of them haven't used any spells yet. And Kamino just House Recruit on E5. Okay, so he's trying to maintain the control center theory here, and principle rather, and trying to avoid that knight to be powerful enough to cause some transcending. Probably there's like transcendence threat, but yeah, it's left to right only, and he doesn't have any space to go in. I think he is actually trying to put some pawn on that e6 square, but thanks to House Recruit on e5, that won't be happening anytime soon.
A clever diversion.
Ooh, and I like this use of Slip spell here, because Cole didn't really have many good squares for that knight. So the Slip spell can be really useful for an almost trapped knight, because then you can take it to a better square if there's one diagonally available.
Yes, you're right. And actually, if you have a Queen Time, you tend to keep all your probably knights. You want to keep your knights, because knights can be very tricky if you have Queen Time. Let's say if later on that queen will be on a2 or b3 and you have that knight on e6 and you have 7 mana, you can use Queen Time to eliminate that queen. So that's how tricky Queen Time works, especially if you have that skill or spell on your spell list.
Yeah, and knights have got to be the most tricky ones, just because they're not usually moving diagonally or horizontally, vertically. Whereas the bishops, they usually attack diagonally, so it's more easy to recognize these threats. Whereas if the knight gets in, it's a bit more sneaky, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And currently, we can see that Black Camino's formation here, it's not so defensive because maybe he's just trying to maintain the defense since both of them have Transcendence spell. So it's pretty common and it's really obvious that you really have to protect your king with this structure right now.
Yes, absolutely. And Kamino was getting a nice knight into f4, but now Cole uses his slip spell to attack that knight that's on f6. So yeah, this looks like a really close game so far, I think. Unless I'm completely wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, for me, I'll take on the white position here because I myself am attacker. I'm an attacking player, but we cannot deny that there are some threats for queen time later on. If Camino managed to get a 7 mana and that queen on d1, it's very vulnerable to those queen time threats. But I believe he has purpose why he did this a5 b4 c3 pawn structure because he wants that queen to d1 to have an access all the way from d1 c2 b3 a4 to h5 g6 and f7, and later on
Yeah,
can cause
and
or
attack
can,
that king.
can give them some pressure. Yes.
Yeah, and it also serves the
Maybe
purpose
that's
of
the
blocking
long-term
off
plan.
the diagonal.
The diagonal
It
path.
blocks the diagonal towards White's king as well, those pawns all there. So you can be kind of safe from transcendence along that diagonal at least. And yeah, chess is definitely very fun when you're attacking. So yeah, I'm also enjoying Cole's attacking style here.
Wow. So I guess both of us are actually having an attacking style or attacking preference. And we can see that you're right about that with this pawn structure, pawn formation in queen side that actually prevents that bishop on f8 to transcend all the way through his king in e1. All right. So we can still see this is a close game. And yep, let's see what strategies are left for both of them. With this g3 move, what's the next move for Black?
Yeah, where is that knight going to go? That is really the question. I wonder if you can try and save things with using one of your spells. But no, he just goes back to g6 and says that he'll get rid of the knight just to try and maybe damage some of the opponent's pawns. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's two strategies that you can take with Anichess. You can either go super aggressive, super attacking, or you can kind of sit back, wait for your opponent to waste all of their spells, and then that's when you strike.
Yeah, actually, you're right about that. And as we can see here, the hg6 is inviting for that white rook to capture that rook on h8 so he can transcend his other rook all the way to the h file. Maybe he sacrificed because he doesn't have any squares left for his knight, but maybe he's trying to improve the position by controlling the h file. But Call didn't went for that exchange to happen.
Yep, absolutely. And that queen on c8, what is that queen on c8 going to do? It's maybe he's going to play b6 at some point, open up the diagonal for that queen to transcend all the way to the other side of the board. But a6 also looks like a good move from Cole.
Actually, there's also a threat of capturing that b1 knight since he has like 8 out of 8 mana. So Transcendence only costs you 4 mana. So if he tries to capture the b1 knight with that bishop on d7, that's possible. Let's say bishop takes b1, rook takes b1, and then queen takes to b1. That can be possible since he still have
Ooh.
2 Transcendence and 8 mana.
Yes, I guess you just have to wonder, do I want to use 2 of my transcendence spells to win this one night? Yeah, it's really difficult to sometimes decide because it's like, okay, I want a free piece, but also that means that I have no more transcendence spells for the rest of the game, or only 1 left. But yeah.
Yeah. Like, is it worth the trade-off? Do you want to trade your spell for this material? So it's like the question that he has in mind. And yep, the game continues here. Oh, It's get the pieces are oh,
Oh, here
transcended
we
to
go. Transcendence
h4.
on the board. Okay, this is for the
Yep.
first time in the game we are seeing the Transcendence spell being used. And here comes that queen, looking a little bit scary.
Yeah, sometimes if you leave that queen, hanging around, maybe because of transcendence, that can be very dangerous. However, Kamino has a queen time too. So, yep, let's see when is he gonna use this spell to gain some advantage, or maybe gain some material advantage. What advantage does he want with this queen time spell?
Fill the blanks.
Yeah, you got to use queen time at the right time. Kamino still needs 3 more mana if he wants to use this spell. But you don't want to get, all the way to the end and then you haven't used your queen time spell, then you run out of pieces to use it with. That's always a bit disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is getting better for Call with that B6 house recruit, having that plenty of threats, getting that pawn to the 8th rank with the use or with the help of slip spell. So that is possible. Although again, there's still queen time for Camino, but with this position, what do you think? Is it advantage or slight advantage for white, or it is still a close game for you?
I really like white's position here, but if the games go like the rest of them have, then usually the higher rated player is winning. But I really do like what white is doing here. I think that they're using their spells very well. Still got 3 transcendent spells remaining, and that pawn on b6 is really close to becoming a queen.
All right, yeah, that this position right now is getting tense, getting intense right now because of the time as well. Look at Camino's time here. He has less than 15 seconds.
Oh my gosh, he's down to 12 seconds. Oh, this is really scary.
Yeah, it's getting scary. So there's a lot of pressure, both in time and in position. So, yeah, let's see who will prevail at the end.
Fill the blanks.
Oh my gosh, and all those pawns are coming up. Cole is absolutely just going crazy with all of these pawns over here. But let's see what Kamino does. 5 seconds remaining. Can it find a move? Okay, here we go.
C5, trying
There's
to
some
prevent
tricks
something.
in mind. I'm wondering if there's any transcendence spells possible.
There
Here
was.
we go. Transcendence used just to grab that pawn on c7.
Oh no, 1
okay.
second. 2 seconds. This can be a little
And you have
tricky.
2 seconds increment, I think, so you have to play very fast. But he flags, he runs out of time. Wow, big upset.
ran out of
Cole
time.
wins that one. Wow.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
That was
It's
some-
not about the rating. It's not about the elo MMR. It's about the skill set. That was a great match.
Yeah, and I have to say, in that game, the use of the slip spell was really, really good there. The way he just slipped those pawns all the way up the board. Yeah, I really liked how Cole was using the slip spell there. There wasn't too much use of transcendence in that game. But yeah, the house recruit and slip worked really well.
Yeah, and maybe if I'll be the one to defeat the 2000 MMR or LO player, I'll be proud of myself. And looking at that position, looking how the game went, damn, he was really good. So massive comments to him for that.
Yeah,
That's a
that
huge
was so
upset.
exciting. That was really, really exciting. And so, yeah, he will be in the top 8, right? That we will see tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. And again, we still have Elijah from the 2 Legends who will be competing tomorrow. And yes, since we're talking about tomorrow's stream, let's not forget that we will be having Grandmaster Ansh Giri commentating with us for the Spells Rush. Brought to you by Anichess, ChessBase India, and Team Secret.
Yeah, that's going to be super awesome, teaming up with Anish Giri for the commentary tomorrow. I can't wait, and I can't wait to see what kind of crazy chess we're going to get tomorrow. And I hope you guys in chat are just as excited. We will be streaming here tomorrow. I think we're also going to stream on some more channels as well. So lots of places to see it as well.
Yep. So we have Call, Atharava, Elijah, Gray, Freysa, RLO5, League, and Port Gas competing tomorrow for the Spells Rush. And of course, we will be having Grandmaster Anish Giri commentating with us for these last 16, right? Last 16 players will be competing for tomorrow.
Yes. Or it might just be 8. I think it's just the top 8 now. Or am I wrong?
Yeah,
I
top
think
8.
we are in the final 8. Yeah, there's even less than we thought.
Yeah.
8 players remaining. These guys are just the best of the best. And I'm so excited to see what happens tomorrow, guys. We will see you all tomorrow and look forward to seeing some more exciting chess. Any closing notes?
Yeah, and let's not forget. Yeah, let's not forget tomorrow's stream. And I hope you guys had fun here tonight. And again, it's me, John F. Dong, and Hannah Says for this tonight's stream. See you all tomorrow. Good night to all of you.